Okay, welcome back, and this is part 2 of lighting a nighttime scene. So I added a point light, and now we're going to take you through the actual attributes that I created to create the look of this scene. So right now I've got a point light in the attributes. You can do Control A to get those attributes. Make sure your light is selected though, to be able to see the attributes. So in here, color, I just kept it at white. Now there are times where you're going to want to add a different color to that, but we're gonna worry about that later. The intensity is at 2. I do not have a decay rate on here. Okay. Light effects, no light effects. Shadows, we're just going to keep the shadows where they are. We're going to hop all the way down to Arnold. Okay. Now, what I want to do with this scene is, let's go back to here, is that I want to create a natural light. Now, natural light, the tungsten is between 5,500 and 6,000 Kelvin. This is a warm range, okay? You might want to write that down. 5,600 to 6,000 Kelvin is a warm range, color-wise, okay? The color of your light. You notice that it works well with my scene. It's natural, it feels warm, and that's what you want to look for. You want to have a warm feeling light, okay? So that's the first thing I do, okay, is I got it set at 5,700, okay? So, and I also clicked on check mark use color temperature, okay? Now here's the kicker. My exposure is set at 5. That's really high, but I wanted to illuminate my scene. So because the lights are, how lights are set up in Arnold, you got to turn them up pretty high to get anything out of them. Okay, I've got samples set at 3. This is how many samples I want for that light, the shadow. So if I have it at 1, it'll give me a real grainy looking shadow. 2 will be better, and 3 is the best. Okay. So if you want to have a fast render, set it at 1 first for initial renders, and then just remember to turn it to 3. I would just recommend you turning it to 3 right now so you don't forget. Now radius, that's how the light is going to diffuse, how it's going to diffuse in your scene. Setting it higher will take longer for the light to render, will give you a more natural result. Of course, I don't want it at 0, so I have it at 0.1. Okay. I want it to be normalized. I don't want it to cast shadows, of course. Shadow density can be set however you want, but keep it at 1, and then you can play with that a little bit if you don't like the results. Volume samples are set at 3, and we have cast volume shadows set up. Everything else is set up to the default. So that's the first thing I did. I want you to start with these settings, and then I want you to understand what happens when you turn these up. So intensity, if you go up higher, it will actually give the light more intensity for shadows. So it will make darker shadows, the intensity will. Okay? The exposure is kind of the key right here. Okay? If you like your shadows, but if you want more intensity, if you want to have the exposure set up, this will set up your light to be brighter, will give you a more bright light. Okay, so I recommend that you turn that up instead of the intensity. Okay, right? So the exposure is the amount of light that's in your scene. Okay, we've already explained the rest of it. Okay, so I just wanted to explain that if you want your light to be brighter. Every scene is going to be different. Okay, all right. So what we need to do now is to prep our scene. So the light bulb is important that we do a couple things with it, okay? So one of the most important things is that we need to make it look illuminate, okay? So you need to click and I would rename it like light bulb. So create a surface shader for that. So basically right click over it, right? Go into object mode and right click over and add a new, assign new material. Okay, whatever that may be. So it's going to be shader, AI standard surface. Okay, all right. Once you have that set up, I would rename it light bulb. And you're probably going to have to rename it like light bulb 01 because you have two in there, right? You have two light bulbs. So this will be 01, the other one will be 0. And I'm going to put next to it TX, texture, so I know that's a texture. So with that done, I'm going to use a preset, okay? So the preset is going to be basically light. I'm trying to remember where it is. Incandescent light bulb, or incandescent bulb. So it's basically going to emit, it's not going to emit light per se, but it's going to look like it's on. So it's not going to have self shadow on or emit shadows. So incandescent bulb, it's nice to have it in here, and just click on replace. Okay, I've already done this. Okay, so this is what you get. And when we go into emission, we notice that the color's up. I changed the color to more of a warm color, not white. Okay, so now we've got our light bulb. Okay, so that's going to be correct. The next thing we need to do is, once that's done, we need to go into the attributes of the light. Okay, so Control A. And we need to find the light bulb surface shape. Okay, so look for surface shape 1 or surface shape 2 or 3 or 4, but look for that, and then you'll see something that looks like this. You have tessellation attributes, mesh component display. If you don't see these, keep looking. Okay, go through these until you find the one that has the right one. There we go. And then I want you to click on render stats. Okay. And I want you to turn everything off. So cast shadows, receive shadows, motion blur. We want primary visibility and we want smooth shading, but all the rest is unchecked. That's important because what's happening is that normally it looks like this. It has double-sided on. Okay, that means that the light will see that object in front of it and not go through the object. We want that light to illuminate light through that object, and it won't do it if double-sided is on. Okay, so just turn that off. All right, that should work. That means the light should illuminate through. Okay, all right. So with that done, then we've got that part done. Now the lampshade itself. What are we going to do with that? Well, the lampshade, I have a texture on it. Okay, it looks like this. Okay, it's ribbed. I created that from scratch. Okay, it's a ribbed texture. Okay, and what I did with that, this was difficult to create. So I'll take you through the attributes, and this is where you're really going to have to pay attention to. The attributes for this are a little bit different, okay, than a normal shader. So you're going to go in there and you're going to add your shader, right? Assign new material, assign an AI standard surface, and then what I want you to do is, this is what the texture is going to look like. All right. So I ended up making the texture gray. Okay. There's no, you could easily go in here and add a map. What I ended up doing was creating a procedural map using a certain situation, and I'll be happy to share it with you. So it's gray, okay, nothing special there. Roughness, diffuse roughness is 0.5, metalness is 0. Specularity is at 1, and my specular color is a gray, the same dark gray. My roughness is at 0.4. My index of refraction is 1.520. My anisotropy is 0.5. And here's the interesting part. It's the transmission. I've got that turned up to The weight at 0.493. This is a good start, right? We're starting 0.493. Color is at white. Depth that is basically 50 units. Scatter set at halfway. Scatter anisotropy is at 0. Dispersion is at 0, and extra roughness is at 0. Okay, I've got subsurface on. Weight at 0.3. Subsurface color is gray, the dark gray. My radius is a light gray, or 0.25, 25%. This is 100%, 25%. Scales at 1. Okay, not done yet. Emission, since it's not emitting anything, and we've got coat, which is there's no coat. I don't see anything in here else except for geometry. We'll look at that. I don't even have opacity on. It's totally opaque. Okay. What did I do about the geometry? Do I have opacity on or off? Let's take a look. So let's go back to the shape. And let's go to, and you can see that I've got everything on. Everything's normal there except for, let's look at Arnold and see where we're at with that. In Arnold, I have opacity on, so I do have it opaque. Okay? All right, great. So that is the lamp, and that should give you some nice, decent results right out of the box, okay, when you render this. Okay. What I want to do now, and I hate taking time for this, but I need to turn all the lights off. So I'm just going to uncheck all of my lights. So just basic default, luminant default on there. And I'll go through all the lights, how I got them set up. But right now I'm just turning those off so we don't have anything in the way. Okay? I think that's everything. Let's click on that one and make sure that one's not. Yep, that's off. Okay, so everything is off now. The sky dome is, I believe that's off. Hopefully, yeah, that's off too. So the only thing we have in here that's actually working is the lamplight. So let's take a look at what we have for a render. Now this may take some time, and I will fix this before I post the video. So we'll get that set up. So the rendering should go fairly fast. I have no idea. I've got it at a lower resolution, but this is indoor lighting, takes a lot longer. Let's take a look and see what we get so far. It looks good. We have a render time at 1 minute and 2 seconds. Not too bad, okay? Notice the room is completely dark though. It's amazing the light that's actually illuminating the walls from this one light. Everything else is turned off, guys. Everything. We don't have the sky dome on. The lamp is illuminating that scene, the back, which is really cool. That's what we want. You have to have a ceiling. I just don't want to see it, right? The ceiling's got to be in there because the light is actually bouncing off the ceiling, right? So the light is bouncing around, and Arnold does a really good job. I mean, that is pretty amazing what we have so far, okay, with this light. So that's great. Okay, we got a good start. The next thing we do, then we start adding lights to illuminate things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding lights where if I have pictures, I want to have a nice spotlight on those pictures. Okay? All right, so we're gonna stop the video right here because I'm over my 15 minutes. So I'm gonna stop right here, and we're gonna go to part 3.